Stupidity is not a crime, so you're free to go. By Katydid. Read by My Lost and Found. Summary. In 1 hour, Shouta Aizawa will receive a phone call from the police telling him that 5 of his problem children are in jail. This is the story of what happened first. Izuku, Sato, Aoyama, Shoto, and Kaminari had finished purchasing s'mores ingredients for Class 1A's cookout. Carrying their shopping bags, they headed for the mall exit. A police officer stopped them at the door. "We've received reports of drug dealers targeting local high schoolers. Please open your bag for an inspection." Izuku's eyebrows shot up. This sounded legally questionable, but Sato was already opening his bag. Oh well, it wasn't as if they had anything to hide, so they might as well get this over with. The police officer dug around in Sato's backpack, then pulled out a Ziploc bag containing a white powder inside. His tone shifted sharply from boredom to suspicion. "What is this?" "Flour and sugar for my baking projects," Sato said, his cheerful tone suggesting that he'd yet to see the problem. Izuku started to sweat. "Why are the so-called ingredients in unlabeled bags?" the officer demanded. Sato said, "My grandmother sends me special high-quality ingredients from her bakery." "I'll have to confiscate this for testing." Ignoring Sato's yelp, the officer moved to Ayama's bag. He pulled out yet another Ziploc. "Aha! What's with this powder?" "It's pecorino romano." The officer's brow furrowed. "Is that a new slang word for cocaine?" "It's a type of cheese. What sort of Philistine has never heard of pecorino romano? Merde, be careful with that. It was made using the finest milk from sheep in the Larissa region." While Ayama argued with the officer, Izuku suddenly realized that his backpack contained a notebook where he'd been writing an Aladdin fanfiction. His cringily obvious self-insert character was All Might's long-lost son. Sweat dripped down his forehead. He would die of embarrassment if anyone saw. As the officer turned for his bag next, Izuku nudged Shoto. "Please distract him." Shoto stepped in front of the officer and held out his backpack. "My bag contains contraband. Please confiscate it." That very much hadn't been what Izuku had intended, but it had done the job. He took advantage of the delay to reach into his backpack and destroy his notebook. Using his quirk with a bit too much enthusiasm, he completely ground the pages to dust. Meanwhile, the officer ruffled through Shoto's backpack. "I can't find anything suspicious in here." "You're not looking hard enough," Shoto insisted. "Can you give me a hint?" Shoto crossed his arms. "It's your job to figure that out. No clues." The officer said, "I'm sorry, but I can't arrest you if I don't find contraband." He started to set down the bag. Shoto looked panicked. "Wait, I have a bottle of Coke." "Coke?" The officer pulled out a bottle of Coca-Cola. This is just a regular soft drink." "Well, why do they call it Coke if it doesn't have cocaine in it?" The officer looked harried. "I don't know." Shoto stamped his foot down. "I demand you drug test my drink. The world needs to know the dirty truth about Coca-Cola, which operates as a drug smuggling front for the CIA." "Fine, if you insist." The officer added Shoto's bag to the pile, then opened Izuku's backpack next. "Aha! What's this suspicious white powder covering all of your belongings?" "Would you believe it's shredded paper?" Izuku asked weakly. "Why would you shred paper so finely?" "I plead the Fifth," Izuku said, hoping no one would point out that the American Fifth Amendment did not apply in Japan. With a grunt, the officer added Izuku's backpack to the stack to confiscate. He turned to Kaminari's backpack next, pulling out another clear plastic bag with a white powder. What's this? Drugs, Kaminari said. Everyone stared at him. Izuku had never been in jail before. It turned out to be an unexpectedly boring experience. He sat on a metal bench next to his friends. An unfamiliar white-haired man slept on the bench across from them. The stranger had a scarf wrapped around his face, a few scars peeking out of the top. Aoyama rocked back and forth on the ground, muttering, "My bag! They took my bag. If they read..." He looked like he might throw up. His eyes were bloodshot. Sato burst into noisy tears. "How will I explain this to my parents? I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. I'm a criminal now." Izuku patted Sato on the shoulders. "It's okay. After the drug tests, they'll find out that you were only carrying baking ingredients." Shoto asked, "Does Coca-Cola contain cocaine?" I didn't think so at first, but by the end, I was starting to convince myself. "It doesn't," Izuku said. "I'm sorry I dragged you into this mess." He prayed none of his friends would ask what he'd been trying to hide. "Don't be," Shoto grinned. "Just wait until my father figures out I got thrown in jail. He'll be so angry. Just imagining his face brings a tear of joy to my eye. Does anyone know where I can get a prison tattoo?" Sato wept louder. "I'll never last long enough to be proven innocent. I'm too cute and weak for jail." Kaminari stood up and clasped his hands. "Everyone, calm down. I know how to survive in jail. I heard about it on TV. You gotta find the scariest guy in the place, then shank him to prove your dominance." Izuku pinched the bridge of his nose. "Do you even know what it means to shank someone? Give them a stern scolding?" Kaminari shrugged. "Watch me." He walked over to the white-haired man sleeping on the opposite bench and poked him. "Hey, you!" The stranger stirred and cracked open one eye. Kaminari leapt to the other side of the room and hid behind Izuku. "He has a very scary glare," Kaminari whispered. "On second thought, it's rude to bother someone when they're sleeping." The white-haired man sat up. An amused gaze scanned the hero students. Kaminari whimpered. Even Sato stopped crying. Shoto stared off into the distance. The stranger threw back his head and laughed. "What are a group of goody-two-shoes heroes in here for? Especially my perfect masterpiece of a little the kid with the facial scar." Glumly, Izuku said, "I shredded my notebooks too well. Shoto was just an innocent casualty of the rest of our stupidity. How about you?" The white-haired man said, "I asked for the directions to the aisle selling hair dye that can be washed out with water. The clerk laughed in my face, so naturally I had to rearrange his face." Izuku blinked. "Washable hair dye doesn't exist." "Of course it does," the stranger claimed. "I've been wearing it for years just in case I had an opportunity to murder my father." Before Izuku could ask him about that, Aizawa strode down the hallway. "All of the test results have come back, and none of you were carrying drugs, so you're free to go. Honestly, are you all in a conspiracy with the problem child to turn my hair gray?" Sato sniffled and blew his nose with his sleeve. "I won't have a criminal record." Aizawa's tone turned gentle. "No, and I even forced the police to issue an apology to you. Imagine not being able to tell sugar from cocaine." Kaminari placed a hand on his forehead and collapsed against the wall. "Jail changed me. I nearly shanked a guy. I don't know if I can survive on the outside now." Aizawa groaned. "You were only in jail for an hour." "Nonsense! It must have been at least a week," Kaminari insisted. "Maybe even a year." Aizawa rubbed his forehead and cast Kaminari a stern glare. "Why did you tell the police officer that your powdered Claritin was a drug?" Isn't Claritin a drug? Kaminari asked, blinking like a deer standing in the path of a speeding truck.
Why do you have it in powdered form to begin with?
Aizawa asked. Kaminari said, I'm scared to take tablets, but I have allergies. Aizawa sighed.
I don't think jail suits you, kid. Let's go home.
Izuku nudged Shoto and pointed at the white-haired stranger. Is it just me, or does that guy look familiar? Shoto straightened. Could he be your long-lost absentee father, Hisashi Midoriya? Izuku shook his head. No, he's way too young. Shoto asked, 3 raccoons stacked in a trench coat? Izuku blinked. I'm not sure how you came up with that. Shoto shrugged. Then I've got nothing. Meanwhile, Dabi mentally added the store clerk to the list of people he would later tell Endeavor that he'd murdered, even though, in reality, he'd only gotten in 1 punch before the police took him away. Dabi had never actually killed anyone, but this wasn't for lack of trying. He was just very bad at murder. Omake time. Omake. Aizawa's phone call. Police officer. I regret to inform you that 5 of your students have been arrested. Aizawa.
Don't tell me who. Let me guess. Izuku Midoriya.
Police officer. How did you know?
Aizawa. I just won 5,000 yen from Blad. Let's see if I can get up to 10,000. If Midoriya is in jail, then so is Todoroki.
Police officer. Right again. Aizawa.
Then you must have Tenya Ida and Ochako Uraraka. The last one is a little tricky. Maybe Suyu Asui?
Police officer. No, the other students are Denki Kaminari, Yuga Aoyama, and Rikido Sato. Aizawa.
Whoa, I did not see any of those coming. Kaminari could have accidentally gotten himself involved, but Sato? I can't imagine him getting mixed up in all this. He's not suited for jail. I'd better hurry over and save him. Who did Midoriya murder? Allegedly murder.
Police officer. They were arrested for drug possession. Aizawa.
Nonsense. If Midoriya became involved in organized crime, then he'd go way bigger than that. I'll get my coat. I've been saving my Yes, of course he has. I've been saving my salary for bail money ever since the problem child's first day in my class.
Omake. The Todorokis react. Fuyumi. My little brother would never, ever become involved with drugs. This is an outrage. I'm going to sue the police station for arresting him with no evidence. Police officer. We didn't think he was guilty either. There weren't any drugs in his drink. We tried... We tried not to arrest him, but he clung to the police car bumper until we took him along. Fuyumi. Later. Fuyumi. Since you and your classmates were proven innocent, I was able to keep father from finding out. Shoto. Why did you do that? I wanted to see his reaction. Luckily, I have a prison tattoo as proof. Fuyumi. Shoto. Relax. Kaminari drew it on my arm with Sharpie. Omake. Tomura will be so disappointed that he just missed Eraserhead. Tomura. I'm here to pick you up. Dabi. I don't know if I can survive on the outside. Jail changed me. A guy nearly shanked me. Tomura. You were in jail for 1 day. Dabi. It feels like years have passed since you ignored my phone call because you were in the middle of an online gaming event. Tomura. You have 5 seconds to get out here before I spend your bail money on video games instead. Dabi. Or we could just set fire to the place, steal all the money, and buy video games and fried chicken. Tomura. That sort of thinking is why I keep you around. Omake. Skip this if you don't want spoilers for manga chapter 336. Police officer.
After further investigation, I found a secret pouch in the Ayama kid's backpack. It had a series of coded messages.
Chief.
Is this the same kid you arrested because you thought his shredded cheese was drugs?
Police officer.
Well, yes, but I think this could be important. I decoded the first couple of lines and got, "Help, I am being controlled by a supervillain."
Chief.
The kid's parents are probably already threatening to sue us for wrongful arrest. We can't afford to anger them any further. This is probably just a game the kids are playing. Forget about it.
Oh, this is so good. They all get arrested for drugs when there are no drugs. Just katydid their writing is amazing. And also thank you for the commenter who corrected me on their pronunciation. Like, it's not the worst I've mispronounced something I've read. Like, I went through a full 8.5 books without realizing a character whose name is clearly spelt Alden wasn't pronounced Adeline. Like, thank God for, like, pronunciation guides in that book 8.5. But I still call him Adeline in my head. It's so much better. It sounds more British posh. Alden, no. This is like with how some of the other podfickers, I don't remember which one, pronounce Sakuchi's name as Sukashi. Like, fuck it, pronounce it however you want. I personally prefer Sakuchi over Sukauchi, but, break all the rules. But no, yeah, this is great. I could not stop laughing for so much of this, but the bit about is Dobby 3 raccoons in a trench coat? If you've read the fic, this was so good. I love this. This was great. I hope you enjoyed. Don't do drugs, kids. I do so many drugs. All the prescription allergies and other such prescription drugs.